Hey there, Paul Casper here, and today we're just going to continue on our navigation project. We built a little website with mobile-first navigation and added a media query in to make it work for desktop. And so the next step in this is to maybe incorporate responsive navigation with the hamburger little icon. And so there's tons of tutorials out there and tons of plugins and stuff you can integrate. I found one out at responsivenav.com. And what I like about this one is it made it easy to retrofit their stuff into an existing site. A lot of the tutorials you're going to see are going to be starting from scratch, and realistically, maybe that's the case for you if you had that kind of foresight. But we usually, maybe we've designed something and we decide, hey, we want to incorporate this. And that incorporation part is sort of the hard part. And so we're just going to kind of merge this together, and hopefully with the current site that we built in a previous tutorial, which I'll link to in the description here. And also then with this, we can create a hamburger menu on our Sweet Tooth site. So with that, we're going to get going, and here we go. All right, so here's the plugin at responsivenav.com, and you can see here that this is basically a live demo of what we're going to look for. You get the little hamburger menu up here in the upper right-hand corner, and when you click that, it basically toggles, shows and hides your navigation elements, and this is the mobile first edition. And then when you make your browser bigger, you can see that the navigation snaps, and I think this is 42M, 40 or 42M, snaps to more tablet view, and it kind of sticks that way for the desktop edition. It sort of stops itself. You can see there all the font sizes bump up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our mobile first Sweet Tooth navigation that we've got mobile first here, kind of doing the same thing, a little bit different skin on it, and eventually I think this is at the 62.5M, so the 1000 pixel grid, and at 1000 pixels it'll snap up. So here's what we have. Here's kind of what we're going to go for functionality wise, but our CSS of course is going to give us a different look and feel. So we're going to merge this with this and end up with a hamburger menu on our Sweet Tooth site. All right, so here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my root folder on my desktop, and we have that here. And in Dreamweaver, I'm just going to do the good old site, new site. And I'm just going to establish that connection to my root folder, so when I start moving files around, the links get updated for me. So let's see, where are we at? Hamburger finish, there we go. Sure. And here's the index page of my current site. And you can see we've got our media query up here, smaller than 62.5M. We've got our mobile first design. And actually, I'm just going to make my browser window kind of a mobile first and sort of keep it here for now, so we can sort of see what's going to start happening as we get rolling on this. All right, so we got that going, and now we need to kind of get the files that we need from responsive nav. So we got this nice call to action on their website. Keep it really easy. So we need to download some files to incorporate into our site. And then as you scroll down here, there's some usage instructions. So we need to link their style sheets and some JavaScript into our site. We have markup on our site already. We've already built the list navigation. Notice that their class name is Nav Collapse. Ours is called main nav. So a little difference there. Incorporate a little bit more JavaScript to make this stuff kind of happen. And then there's a little bit of customizable stuff that we can find there eventually. So this is really what we're going to focus on. We're going to download files, and we're going to link those files, and we're going to make the JavaScript work. So it's really just a few different steps. And then again, my design looks a little bit different than what theirs does, so we're kind of retrofitting this responsive navigation into an existing site. And this is the kind of the tricky part, but probably a more realistic expectation of what you've probably searched YouTube trying to do. So, all right. So with that, I'm just going to download these files, and in my downloads folder, got responsive nav master you should get, and I'm just going to bring that to my desktop. In the responsive nav master, you get a folder of all kinds of crazy stuff. if you look in the demos area, we're going to be building the advanced demo, so just a little preview of that. Right, look very familiar, just a vanilla example that they put together for us. You know, there's a bunch of other ones in here you can look through, but we're going to be using the advanced because we're going to use some of the CSS that they put together for that. Before we can do that, however, we need to get some of the stuff that makes this work over into our root folder. So we're going to take their responsive Nav CSS and their responsive Nav JavaScript, take both of these, and I'm just going to option drag. I'm going to copy them into my root folder because I still want to reference the demos, and if I just move them, they're actually going to be removed from the root folder of the demo, and then it's not going to work. So I option dragged, I copied these into my root folder. So here's the root folder for my site. You'll see that they're added here now. We're going to clean this up probably a little bit later, but this is a good place for them to start with. And then after that, we're going to just take a look at the demo. I'm just going to open up the index page of the advanced demo in Dreamweaver. So I've got this here, and I've got my index page here because I'm going to borrow some code eventually from this demo site. So that's kind of why I did that. And then we're going to just link our files together. So we moved those CSS files, but they're not linked into our website yet. They're just sitting in our root folder. So I'm going to go back to the responsive Nav website. And in the area where it says link files, I'm going to take these and I'm just going to copy these two pieces, Command C, and in the root of my folder, we'll zoom in here a little bit, I'm just going to paste the links into my root folder. So notice we got normalize, and in the cascade I want to make sure that my style sheets overwrite their style sheets. So I'm going to place their style sheet in between here. And there's a little JavaScript, so I'm actually just going to take this JavaScript and Command X that. And I'm just going to put that down here before the closing head. So all I did is copy from their site, paste into here, and I just made sure that my links were actually going to work. And because my responsive nav here is top level in my root, I don't have to put any subdirectories in above this link. So that's just the important part. We need to make sure that we're matching up the path to that file to where it is. And so we've got these two pieces incorporated. All right. So we got that, and then we're going to, down here, we've got the markup already done. Again, they use a different name, so we're going to fix that in a minute. But we're going to hook this up, and we're going to take this little chunk of code, Command C, and place it right before the closing body tag. So we're going to scroll down before the closing body, and I just pasted that code there. Nothing's really happening yet. We're just getting things connected before we can actually start designing. And we've got that done, so I'm just going to save this. And since we have markup, right, we've got a main nav element here, but the plugin calls it Nav Collapse, along with all the JavaScript and stuff, calls it Nav Collapse. We basically needed to change all of our HTML and CSS to Nav Collapse. So I'm just going to change my class name to nav-collapse. Now everything's gone because this no longer is seen based on my CSS. We're going to fix that. That's okay for now. And in our CSS, we've got a bunch of navigation styles in here targeting main nav, and those all have to go to Nav Collapse as well. So I'm just going to check out, make sure I got everything in here. And I think I'm just going to put a little comment in here called my styles to help keep these straight. Maybe my nav styles. Once I incorporate theirs, basically I need to kind of take all these main navs though and convert them to Nav Collapse. So we can do them one by one, or if we hit Command F, we can type in main nav. So what do we want? We want main nav. What do we want it to be? Nav Collapse. So main nav, Nav Collapse. I've got 10 instances of that, so I can replace them one at a time, or I can just replace them all, and I'm going to replace them all. So replace all. You can see all the different changes that have happened. So my styles of main nav are now converted to nav collapse. And again, this is going to match the plugin. If I wanted to keep my CSS the way I had it, I could go to their plugin and change every instance of nav collapse to main nav, and the same thing would happen. I just find it works a little bit better if I just kind of stick with what they have and modify my workflow around that plugin versus modify their plugin around my workflow. Works for me. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want with that. Alright, so now we've got to actually merge some of their CSS in the demo that they have together with the CSS that we had previously built. And so this is kind of the tricky part overall, just because we're kind of taking their thought process and inside their minds and converting it into kind of making it fit within our minds. So, so you'll see how we start to kind of combine this. But the first thing at this point is I'm going to get these navigation styles from the demo. So again, I went to the advanced demo and opened it up so I could get access to their code, and you can see sort of how their stuff is working. But in their styles.css, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a big chunk here called navigation demos, or I'm sorry, navigation styles. And so we're going to take the first 4 chunks out of here. So we're not going to take the media query. We're just going to take the first 4 chunks of their navigation code. And I'm going to keep the comment, and I'm going to copy that, and in my site CSS, I'm just going to paste theirs above mine. So I've got their stuff, and my stuff is lower on the list, so it's going to overwrite their styles. And what I need to do is just get rid of the duplicates and merge theirs with mine. And I'm just going to see if sometimes this, I gotta switch these back and forth. So you can see we have a menu now. That's kind of working. We still need to pull a little bit of style in. And so I think maybe before I merge the CSS, I'm going to do one more thing. And in the demo, advanced demo style sheet, there's one more chunk of code I want to pull. It's called the Nav Toggle Styles. And this is actually going to style where right now the word menu shows up. It's going to add some style to that. So I'm just going to pull in their current style. And I'm just going to take all the stuff down here, copy that, and on my page, in my CSS, before my media query, I'm going to paste all that content. So I did it before my media query, so I pasted that at the end of my mobile first CSS. And you can see kind of what it did here. It gave us a little hamburger. We can adjust all these things, but it no longer says menu. I click this, and it kind of works. Let me get rid of this. It's kind of taking up all my space here right now. You can see it kind of works, but it's not pushing our head down, so we've got to adjust some stuff in our CSS to get there, but we're on the right track. We're kind of getting close to where we need to be right now. Alright, so we left off and we were going to be merging their navigation with our navigation stuff. So I'm going to go up to the navigation area, and this is where it's really helpful to keep all the navigation together, so when you start editing it you can sort of see it all in one spot. Alright, so I don't have anything called .fixed, so I'm going to keep this of theirs. They've got a compound style here. They've got the nav collapse and then the global selector for the nav collapse, and they're doing some stuff in there. So I'm going to leave that alone. Then they're targeting the UL and the LI. So I'm going to take my nav collapse stuff where I've got some spacing, and that's the spacing around all of our items here. I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to cut this, Command X, and I'm going to put that after their nav collapse with the global selector. So I don't want to put it in the same spot because I don't want to overwrite all the things. I need to kind of have this kind of take over what's going on here, so add it on afterwards. So that's why I've got a second one here. And then, so I've got a nav collapse UL. They've got a nav collapse UL. They've got a list style of none. I've got a list style of none. So I don't need that. But I did style my padding and margin to be 0 on that UL, and they might have gotten to that in a reset, I'm not sure, but I'm just going to keep it right there anyway. So I'm just adding, oh, that looks gross, that's fine. So let's add that, and now I don't need this anymore. And then I've got a UL LI, they've got the LI here. I'm just going to Command X. Put the text align on the list item, keep that text centered, get rid of this. And then got the links and visited and all that stuff. So this is all of our major styling for our navigation. And so I can get rid of the My Nav Styles on that. Alright, so I've combined theirs with mine, and I think I've got kind of what I want to do here. So I just had to merge some code. Alright, so I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to preview it in Safari. Maybe, or Firefox, or somewhere else. And here's our site, their media query, right? We've got our initial design going on. It's happening underneath here, so we just need to kind of adjust some of that, probably. And our media query, it does activate, just doesn't do what we want it to do. So we need to go in and just adjust a little bit in our media queries now. Alright, so in the responsive Nav Css, that's in our site, if you scroll, let's close this down too. If you scroll in there a little bit, close that, eventually we're going to see a media query that says 40M. So I'm just going to change that to 42M. You can do whatever you want in there, it's based on your design, but I'm going 42 to change that media query there. And then in my style sheet, just to stay consistent, when we did this mobile first navigation and we went straight from mobile to desktop and we kind of skipped over the tablet size, so in my media query it's at a desktop size, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to also put this to 42 for now to match that with the plugin. And if I want, I can jump in and I can make another media query at the 62.5 to get that larger desktop size. But for now I'm just going to toggle from the mobile first to more of a tablet size, and we're going to adjust the tablet size when we get there. So I think did I save this? Oh, I think I forgot to save. At the 42, I got something going on. That's right, we'll figure it out. Alright, so I got that there. Could be a Dreamweaver issue on that. Alright, and then so on our style sheet here, what we got going on here is we want to make sure that this is maybe sitting up towards the header area, and when we open it, it's pushing down the H1 head there. So what I need to do is find my nav collapse element, and I've got some spacing around there, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do let's do a margin bottom, and maybe I'll go 2 EM on that. See what happens. Not quite there. I think that's actually going to affect when it's open. So what we need to do is basically we need to take this and push that up into this area, and then once we do that, it's going to push, it'll give enough space to push that down. So in the Nav Toggle Styles, because we want to work with the toggle now, that's down here, Nav Toggle Styles. All this stuff here belongs to the Hamburger. This is kind of the Hamburger area. And so I think what I'm going to do is this is the Hamburger look and feel to design it, and this is the Hamburger like box to position it. And so I'm going to give that box a little margin top, and this isn't anything I'd always recommend, but it's going to work right now. I'm going to do a little negative margin on that, and notice what happened when I put a negative margin on that is it pushed it up. into the header area a little bit. And then I'll do margin right, and I'm going to push it to the right just a little bit. And the settings you put in this is really, determined by your design. And now we've got a little bit better experience on that. And let's go ahead and when we're here, let's change the color. So this is the color of the hamburger. Let's go white, and not hashtag white. Let's go plain white. So it stands out a little bit more. And let's see, there's a size, 28 pixels. Let's just go a little bit bigger. I'm going to go 3M. Make it a little bit more big and chunky. A little more obvious and clickable. Let's go boom. Right, and so this is working pretty good now. Looks like I want to adjust a little bit of spacing in my ULL. I must have forgot to do something in here to kind of push that down and push those in a little. I'll go double check that in a minute, but I'm just going to make my media query work, and in the media query, once that kicks, of course, we still have the top stack this way. And so what we're going to do is we are going to take these LIs and let's give them a width. And so I've got 4 elements. I'm going to give it 25%. 25%, so each one is going to take up 25% of the space. If I had 5 elements, I'd do 20%, so on and so forth to make those fit if you wanted them to go all the way across. In the previous tutorial, we spaced out our navigation a little bit using some padding on the actual links. So I'm just actually going to take the padding off of those, and that's going to allow a little bit more space between these. And I'm not trusting Dreamweaver 100% right now. With that, let's just preview it and let's try Chrome, see what happens. So here's our site, maybe. Whoa. That's crazy. So this is the organic piece of the demo. Something's always broken. Something is always broken. Let's see what it is. Chrome. I don't know what it was, just a preview. And we've got our nav demo. Boop. Pushing it down. Still looks a little weird at some of these areas, so I'm going to have to fix up the spacing on the left and right and the top. Make that happen, but I've got this nice little toggle demo here. When it's closed, that's our mobile first. Get going a little bit into the tablet size, and then it kind of snaps it across. So although it doesn't look exactly like they have, we kind of retrofitted their code into our design. So I'm just going to try to take a couple minutes here and fix the look and feel, but I think you get the idea of kind of where we're headed with this, and with the directions, hopefully you can retrofit, for the most part, their design with your design and make it work without starting over from scratch. So again, I'm going to poke around here a little bit to see if I can't figure that out, but you can stop watching now if you'd like, because we're not going to learn anything new besides watching Paul bug check. So that's going to be that for now. Alright, what the heck did we do here? Let's double check here. So it's got to be something up in when we did our merging. So we got our colons here, margin bottom. So I feel like it's this. Nav collapse. UL. So I took the padding margin off nav collapse, but I have it here and not there. So that's interesting. So I'm thinking what I did is these are overwriting these. So I'm just going to change my stacking order to see if that does anything. To make sure that these overwrite these in the cascade. Hey, check that out. That didn't take as long as I thought. Alright. So I'm going to save it. Save it, preview it, check all my browsers. I notice that the Hamburger looks a little bit different in different browsers. So you can change the location here. That's better, looks a little bit nicer. And that, let's see, boom, that's better. Alright, well that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought that was going to be a 2-hour bug check like usual type of stuff. So yeah, that's it. So if you have any questions, I guess, shoot me an email. Otherwise, put a comment in here. Let me know what you think. Again, it feels a little bit more complicated probably because we're retrofitting, but you know, sometimes that's the name of the game. So it's good to get some practice doing that sort of thing too. So with that, talk to you later.